Hello and welcome to this all about Ash Canyon guide video. In this video, I will be going over some key information to help you get familiar with the Ash Canyon region in the long dark. I'll be going over important routes, base options, information on loot and wildlife spawns, and much more. Feel free to check out the timestamps in the description to jump to the information that you need. A very brief background. Ash Canyon was the 11th main region released for the long dark. Considered a challenging region mainly due to its harsh weather being quite difficult to navigate with its varying terrain and plenty of hostile wildlife. It is also home to the gold mine containing the technical backpack, a unique item that increases your carrying capacity by 5 kilos, as well as crampons. It's a rugged mountainous area with various leftover mining settlements. Map overview. Ash Canyon is known for its diversity in terrain, with multiple levels of elevation, long rickety rope bridges, plenty of rope climbs, and areas of burnt forest. As well, it is home to the gold mine containing 2 items exclusively found in Ash Canyon, the technical backpack and crampons. If you have the DLC, the Curator's Rifle variant is also found in Ash Canyon. Ash Canyon is an edge region of Great Bear. It can only be accessed from Timberwolf Mountain through either the Echo Ravine transition or the cave transition near Deer Clearing. To try and keep it as simple as possible, I'm going to break down and go over the areas based on the main name or POI in that area. Starting from the Bitter Marsh area. This is where you'll find a destroyed fishing hut, and you'll come out to this area if you enter from the Echo Ravine transition from Timberwolf Mountain. Your surroundings will be the burnt forest trees and frozen river. Up to your right, you'll also maybe spot a cabin, and that is Homesteader's Respite. The Angler's Den area, which of course contains Angler's Den itself. The burnt forest trees continue here as well as the frozen river. There is also likely hostile wildlife. You'll also see the large broad falls which lead up to another higher area, the Long Falls Plateau. Here you'll also find the entrance to the small cave system that interconnects 2 parts within Ash Canyon. This connects you up to the higher mountain passages, which leads on towards Wolf Jaw Overlook and the rope climb down to the mining camp. The mining camp is where you access the gold mine and find the technical backpack and crampons. In the other direction, the narrow mountain path after you've come out of the cave heads down to what I'll call the Miner's Folly Plateau, where Foreman's Retreat, which is a cabin, is also located. Be aware in this area for bear or a moose or wolves. Then you also have the High Meadow and Fire Overlook area, which are connected via a bridge. Miller's Footrest area, which is where you may enter from as well via the cave system transition from the Deer Clearing area in Timberwolf Mountain. From the cave up until the 3 rope climbs, it's all connected. You can access the Climber's Cave area from here as well, and you can even go up to the Runaway Bridge plateaus via a rope climb, these higher elevated areas. There's also a kind of set of winding paths which lead you to a prepper cache and a narrow crevasse you can walk along. Base and shelter options. Firstly, some base options. Foreman's Retreat and Miner's Folly. Located on one of the higher plateaus in the top right corner of the map, you'll find Foreman's Retreat and Miner's Folly. I'll mention these together as they are very nearby each other and can be used together as a great base spot. Foreman's Retreat, the cabin with the great view, provides a bed, a 2-burner stove, and some storage. Miner's Folly nearby provides a workbench, a fire barrel with 2 cooking slots, and shelter, so it can be used to combat cabin fever, for example. Within Miner's Folly, there is also another small interior cabin providing a bed but no cooking facilities. Another benefit, although it comes with risk too, is that the area is a spawn location for bear, moose, deer, and wolves, providing plenty of food sources. As well, if you have the DLC, there is a ptarmigan nest outside Foreman's Retreat. Additional note on Miner's Folly, here you can find a set of the woodworking tools needed for base customization purposes. Homesteader's Respite. This is an interior cabin located on the little plateau overlooking the Bitter Marsh and broken fishing hut. It provides a bed, cooking facilities, and a bit of storage. It is not too far from one of the transitions from Timberwolf Mountain, the Echo Ravine transition. You can also go down from the little plateau to the fishing hut easily, providing a food source. There are also wolves, deer, and sometimes timberwolves on the marsh, and a moose spawn a bit further back towards the transition. As well, if you have the DLC, there is a ptarmigan nest that spawns between the cabin and the rope climb. You used to not have access to this little plateau as there was no rope deployed by default. However, I've become aware that now it does seem to be there by default, even on Interloper. Angler's Den. Angler's Den is a small cabin located along the frozen river, up from the Bitter Marsh and below the Miner's Folly Plateau. It provides many of the facilities a player would need to call it home. There is a workbench, a potbelly stove with one cooking slot, beds, and a bit of storage. Nearby you can find rabbits and deer to hunt. As well, there are often wolves in the area, sometimes even a bear might roam in this spot. The fishing hut down in the Bitter Marsh isn't too far away either. It's also quite central within Ash Canyon itself, and you can explore from here in various directions. It's especially advantageous for players on Interloper as there is a guaranteed spawn of arrowheads here. Other shelter. As for other options for shelter as you're exploring the region, there are a number of non-explorable outdoor caves dotted around the region. There is a broken fishing hut down in the Bitter Marsh as well, providing a bit of protection. The gold mine and the little settlement just outside it can provide shelter too. Lastly, there is also a prepper cache. Transition zones. Transition zones are locations in a main regions which let you move into a different region. Ash Canyon is a main region in the game as well as an end region, a bit like Hushed River Valley. You can only transition to and from it from Timberwolf Mountain via 2 transition zones. Number 1, the Bitter Marsh transition. This is a walking transition connecting to and from the Echo Ravine in Timberwolf Mountain and leads you onto the Bitter Marsh in Ash Canyon. Number 2, the Pillar's Footrest transition. This is a cave system transition connecting from the cave up at the deer clearing area in Timberwolf Mountain. This comes out or leaves from the Pillar's Footrest area in Ash Canyon. Depending on where you are heading, unless of course you have spawned in Ash Canyon, it may be wise to choose which transition to take. For example, there are 2 routes to the gold mine, which I will go over in another section in full detail. For example, if you want to use the 3 rope route up to the gold mine, then you want to come in from Pillar's Footrest. If you want to go via the Bitter Marsh and Angler's Den route and the mountain passage, then you'll benefit from coming in from the Echo Ravine transition. Prepper cache. There is a prepper cache located in Ash Canyon. I will show you the route to the prepper cache starting off from the Pillar's Footrest transition cave, the one that connects from Deer Clearing in Timberwolf Mountain. So first of all, head straight ahead to this small patch of frozen ice and continue to the right of this large rock. Once we're here, we're going to head slightly left towards the edge over here. Then we're going to turn a little bit more left and we're going to, on our right side, follow this higher edge. Continue along until you see this rosehip bush coming out of the rock up here. After or over this little hill, continue around to your right and head up the hill. Up here you will come to a fallen tree bridge, which takes you over to the Climber's Cave plateau side. Once we've crossed that, we're gonna kind of keep the edge of the crevasse to our left over here. So keep this ledge or edge to your left and can kind of head backwards again. Now we are gonna head a little bit down this hill. You'll see a rosehip bush. And continue straight ahead. Here you're going to see that we're going to need to turn to our right. And you're going to see this big rock arch. Well, half arch, I guess. Continue to head straight under that. And it kind of looks like a dead end here, but it's not. And we're going to head a little bit round to our right then. And down this little passage. This is kind of a one-way passage, so you can't get back up from here. So there is a little jump over the crevasse, as you can see. And then we're going to continue along the path till we get to the next tree bridge. Go over the next tree bridge and continue upwards along the path until you get to the fork. Once you're here, you're going to want to take the right side up to the prepper cache. The left side, by the way, goes to a little overlook spot which may have a Polaroid. And up here, you're going to find the prepper cache. Hopefully for you it will be a filled one, but otherwise it will be abandoned. Facilities. Firstly, workbenches. You will find these in a few spots, including inside Angler's Den, outside at Miner's Folly, and in the gold mine itself, where the technical backpack and crampons are found. As for cooking facilities, there are a number of options. At the broken fishing hut in the Bitter Marsh, there is a potbelly stove with 1 cooking slot. At Homesteader's Respite, you'll find a fireplace with 2 slots. Angler's Den has a potbelly stove as well. Just a bit further up from Angler's Den towards Broad Falls, there is also an outside fire barrel with 2 cooking slots. Foreman's Retreat Cabin has a stove with 2 slots, and there is a fire barrel at Miner's Folly outside. In the gold mine, you will find 2 fire barrels, one near the entrance and the other a bit further inside near where the workbench is. There is a bed in the gold mine as well. All of the loaded cabins provide beds and some storage. Loot. Loot-wise, there are some great items to find in Ash Canyon, including some unique items you will only find here. As always, loot levels will depend on the difficulty you are playing. Interloper or higher do not spawn guns or the hatchet and a hunting knife. I will first go over some general loot information and then have a focus section on getting the technical backpack and the crampons, as I'll discuss the route and show you the routes as well. Firstly, general loot information. Tool-wise, a hatchet or hunting knife can be found most commonly in various locations. Some examples include at the broken fishing hut, at Miner's Folly, or in the gold mine itself, also possibly at smaller POIs like caves or abandoned camps. Other tools are less common, however there is a chance of finding a heavy hammer in the gold mine or at the top of the first of the 3 rope climbs, for example. Weapon-wise, there are some chances to find a revolver, for example at Homesteader's Respite or in the gold mine. There is also a possible bow spawn in Ash Canyon. This is along the high mountain pathway that leads to the gold mine. After the small cave transition, left heads towards Miner's Folly, and across this little bridge leads further on to the Wolf Jaw Overlook and the gold mine. There is a small area along the way with an abandoned camp where sometimes you can find a bow. There's also often saplings here. There are many bridges in Ash Canyon. You'll often find matches at either end of the bridges. One of the 4 sets of woodworking tools can be found in Ash Canyon. These are needed to craft items with the base customization feature, which by the way is a free update and you do not need the DLC for this. They can be found at Miner's Folly. In general, you'll also find clothing, medical, and food items. Specific to Interloper, you still have a chance of finding matches at some of the bridges, as well possibly a heavy hammer at Miner's Folly or a pry bar at Climber's Cave. The broken fishing hut may also have a lantern. Additionally, there is a guaranteed spawn of arrowheads at Anglers. You can also get the crampons and technical backpack on all difficulties, which I'll go over next. The technical backpack. From my view, there are 2 main routes that you can choose to take to get to the gold mine, where you find the technical backpack, which gives you 5 kilograms of extra carrying capacity, and the crampons, which are useful for climbing and beachcombing. Route 1. Starting from Bitter Marsh, entering from the Echo Ravine in Timberwolf Mountain. I have covered this route in a previous video, which I'll link, but I will include it here too, as it's an important feature of Ash Canyon to be able to get there. So I will start at the transition zone coming in from the Echo Ravine transition in Timberwolf Mountain. Firstly, here let me show you the transition zone that you need to use in Timberwolf Mountain. It is quite close to the Mountaineer's Hut. Once you are in Ash Canyon, Head down to the broken fishing hut on Bitter Marsh. Be on the lookout firstly for a moose, since there is a spawn point here just as you come down this path. Also look out for wolves and timberwolves sometimes. From the broken fishing hut, head further up the frozen river. Here you will come to two small waterfalls, and on the right side you can walk up. Watch out for wolves. They can surprise you here. Once again, continue to follow the frozen river and you will come to Angler's Den. Again, watch for wolves in the area, sometimes even a bear. Definitely stop here if you need some rest or recovery before heading on. From Angler's Den, you continue to head up the river to the large waterfall called Broad Falls. You can walk up on the right-hand side. You'll pass a fire barrel out in the open. Continue up and underneath the waterfall. Up these rosehip climbs. Up here there is another spot where wolves can be a bit hard to spot due to the hilliness, so just expect to meet some wolves up here. I've been surprised many times. Once up these rosehip climbs, continue on and you'll see another mini waterfall. I usually take the left side up, but again be aware for wolves. Continue past the large waterfalls to your left and head down to the slightly lower section where you'll see a cave entrance. In the cave itself, you will come to a sheet of cold water. I normally suggest unequipping your clothing to not get them wet. There is also a small rope climb within the cave, so you can't be encumbered. Once out of the cave, you'll come to a bridge on your right and another path to your left. Head across the bridge and continue to follow the path. This spot here is the potential bow spot. Continue across another bridge and follow the winding path. Eventually you'll cross another bridge and reach the Wolf Door Overlook point of interest. This is one of the Vista points as well, and also a possible spot to find the Curator's Rifle nearby. Continue up the rosehip climbs, you'll go under a kind of archway and come to a bend and a scenic spot. At the scenic spot, you'll have the possibility of a Polaroid in this plastic container and the possible location to find the Curator's Rifle. As you continue on up after the bend, you'll see a cave on your left, providing some shelter and often a rope which you can deploy to head down to the mining camp. Sometimes you'll find a rope somewhere else along this mountain path. If you continue a bit upwards from the cave up the hill, you'll come to an edge where you'll see where you can deploy a rope that heads down to the mining camp area. You can also go down to the mining camp a little bit further on from here if you prefer. However, I would suggest still deploying a rope here because coming back up is, I don't believe, possible goating. So you might need it for the sake of coming back up. Once you are down either way, head across to the mining camp and go inside the mine. Follow the train tracks. Once inside, you'll need to cross some frozen water. I always recommend taking off or unequipping your shoes and socks if you don't want to get them wet. Head straight ahead and then go to your right. Then it will open up a bit to this area where you'll see a corpse as well, and if you go a little further you'll also find a workbench, the bed, fire barrel, and of course the technical backpack and crampons. Woohoo! Route 2. Deer clearing / pillars footrest transition, 3 rope climbs. This route starts from the other transition from Timberwolf Mountain, the one located near Deer Clearing. You come out into Ash Canyon at an area called Pillars Footrest. Please note this route contains 3 rope climbs, pretty long ones as well. There is not much in the way of shelter in between and along this route, not to mention it goes past the first Cougar territory if you have the DLC. Once out of the transition cave, use the left wall as your guide. So continue with the wall of the region to your left. Be warned for wolves and potential move spawn in this first area. The path will narrow a bit and go uphill. And then you'll come past this area where you'll start to see some birch trees, and there is a fallen tree bridge up to your left, which heads up to another little plateau. However, just continue along, head towards the birch trees, and pick up some birch if you want on the way. Eventually, you'll start to see some of Ash Canyon's infamous burnt trees. Once again, on your left side, there will be a little path upwards to an outdoor cave named the Stone Shelf Cave. Here is kind of the last chance for a bit of shelter before heading up the 3 rope climbs. Then you may be able to rest in between the rope climbs with a fire, or maybe if you have the items to build a snow shelter. Otherwise, the next shelter will be either the mine itself or the cave at the top of the 3 rope climbs. For this route, I do suggest planning ahead, bring coffees, energy drinks, maybe items for a snow shelter, and be prepared to meet a Cougar if you have it on with the DLC. But back to the route, continue again with the wall to your left. Warning again, there is a Cougar spawn right here and sometimes a wolf. You should see the first rope climb up ahead. At the top of this, there is a cache with potentially a Polaroid. You might also find an abandoned camp before the next climb. Go up the second climb, and you may notice up to your left there is a cave entrance. This is an exit from the gold mine. However, you cannot get up there to enter. I'll be honest, I'm not even sure if goating up there is possible. I haven't personally tried. Head up to the 3rd rope climb and follow the narrow path. Up here you can either go down to the mining camp or deploy a rope, which again you might need to do anyway for the sake of coming back up. Once down, head over to the mining camp and enter the mine. Once inside, you'll need to cross some frozen water, and I always recommend unequipping your shoes and socks if you don't want to get them wet. Firstly, head straight and head then to your right. Then it will open up a bit, and over here you'll find a workbench. bed, fire barrel, and of course the technical backpack and crampons. Yay! You could also potentially go a third route, especially now since the rope from Bitter Marsh to Homesteader's Respite is there by default. It would eventually lead to the higher mountain path as on the first route, but you would instead be going via Fire Overlook and Miner's Folly. I personally find the first route preferable, despite there being wolves and it being a bit longer, but there is shelter along the way, and the views you get along the path are just awesome, even if it's foggy. Natural resources. In Ash Canyon, you will find rose hips, reishi mushrooms, old beard lichen, cattails, birch and maple saplings, birch bark, burdock, but however, you will not find acorns. Wildlife. Plenty of wildlife in Ash Canyon. You will find the following: rabbits, ptarmigan, deer, wolves, timberwolves, bear, moose, and the cougar. Let's go over the spawn locations for moose, bears, wolves, and timberwolves, as there was a wildlife refresh in December 2024. I'll go over the cougar in the DLC section. Moose. There are 4 possible spawn locations for moose in Ash Canyon. Number 1. At the start of the Bitter Marsh area on the first frozen ice patch as you come down from the walking transition from Timberwolf Mountain. Number 2. On an area of frozen pond outside Climber's Cave. This is located on a higher plateau to the left of Bitter Marsh. Number 3. In the Pillar's Footrest area to the right if you are coming out of the Transition Cave. Number 4. On one of the higher plateaus where Miner's Folly and Foreman's Retreat are located. Bears. There are 2 bear caves in Ash Canyon. Number 1. Nearby Miner's Folly there is a bear cave. This bear roams around Miner's Folly itself and behind, as well as towards Foreman's Retreat. Number 2. If you face the waterfall from Angler's Den, with the Angler's Den behind you, to your left there is a narrow pathway where you'll cross underneath Runaway Bridge. And as you continue, to your right there will be a bear cave. This bear roams around this small area and goes out towards Angler's Den as well. Wolves. There are, as always, quite a lot of potential wolf spawns in Ash Canyon, so I won't go over every single spot, but I have marked them on the map. I will mention a few spots where I'd be more careful, as they can surprise you due to the terrain. For example, as you reach the end of Bitter Marsh, there are 2 small waterfalls. If you go up these to the right, there are sometimes wolves just up top here, which may not be seen directly. The same kind of thing happens after the 2 rose hip climbs underneath Broad Falls. Just up here and past the other small mini waterfall, I've met many wolves by surprise, so proceed with caution. Timberwolves. There are now Timberwolves in Ash Canyon after the wildlife refresh in December 2024. The one location they have a chance of spawning in is on the Bitter Marsh, nearby the broken down fishing hut. Vista points and Polaroids. Vista points are locations in a region where if you survey the area with charcoal, it will reveal a greater area of the map compared to when you normally survey. You first need to find the relevant Polaroid, go to the location, and survey the map. This won't work unless you have the Polaroid. Ash Canyon has 2 Vista points, meaning you'll need to find 2 different Polaroids. One of the Vista points is at Wolf's Jaw Overlook, and the other is at High Meadow. There are 8 possible locations to find the Polaroids, and these are the following. Number 1. Between Miner's Folly and Foreman's Retreat Cabin, there is a small alcove or open cave where you'll find a leafy bed. Sometimes there will be a plastic container containing a Polaroid. Number 2. At the top of the first of the 3 rope climbs towards the gold mine, there is a cache that can be found nearby the rope climb rock, which may contain a Polaroid. Number 3. On the pathway from Wolf's Jaw Overlook towards the rope climb that goes down to the mining camp, there is a viewpoint on a bend along the pathway. This is where you might find a plastic container containing a Polaroid. There is also sometimes a corpse here with the Curator's Rifle, but I'll go over that more in the DLC section. Number 4. Heading from Pillar's Footrest in the direction towards the 3 rope climbs, on the left wall of the region you will see a fallen tree bridge which leads you up to a slightly higher area. Just a bit further from the tree bridge you may find a Polaroid in a plastic container. Number 5. In the northern corner of the Climber's Cave Plateau, towards Angler's Den, there is a metal container which may contain a Polaroid. If you hug the wall on your left from Climber's Cave towards High Meadow, you should come across it. Number 6. On the pathway connecting Fire Overlook to the High Meadow, there is a small detour from the path that leads to some saplings just before heading up the steeper part. There may be a plastic container here containing a Polaroid. The last 2 locations are nearby each other, however a little bit confusing. It's in the area of small pathways between Pillar's Footrest and Shattered Cove. There's a series of pathways connected by tree bridges. The prepper cache is also in this area. One of them can be accessed via the route to the prepper cache, which I go over of course in the prepper cache section. But instead of going to the right up to the prepper cache, you go left up to a small outlook where there's a leafy bed and you may find a Polaroid. The other can be accessed from Pillar's Footrest. If you pass through the narrowing path here, if you follow the wall to the right from the transition cave, then continue around to a tree bridge. Just over this tree bridge, there may be a Polaroid in a metal container. Memento caches. Mementos are a collectible which you can find throughout Great Bear. They lead you to either a hidden cache with some loot, or they hint at a landmark or transition zone. The way it works is you first need to find a note which correlates to a certain cache. You won't be able to access the caches without having found the note. Sometimes they come with a key as well. Ash Canyon has 1 memento cache and 2 memento hints. Cache 1. Found attached to the door of the small cabin at Miner's Folly, there will be a note and a key. This leads you to a cache found in the fishing boat just outside Angler's Den. It normally contains uncooked fish. Hint 1. A note found inside the broken fishing hut on the Bitter Marsh. This hints you to the start of the 3 rope climbs that take you up towards the gold mine. Hint 2. In the Shattered Cove area, you'll find a corpse with a note. This hints to the location of the gold mine itself. DLC content. Just wanted to go over some DLC related content that's relevant if you have the Tales from the Far Territory DLC. Firstly, the Cougar. The Cougar does spawn in Ash Canyon. The first territory is already a challenging one. It is located at the area at the bottom of the 3 rope climbs that take you up to the gold mine. So for those who prefer this route to the mine should keep an eye out. If you kill this one, the second territory it expands to is in the foresty area but near Angler's Den, kind of underneath the Foreman's Retreat Plateau. Lastly, if you kill this one, it will expand to the foresty area of Bitter Marsh, between the fishing hut and the Shattered Cove area. The Curator's Rifle. The Curator's Rifle is one of the rifle variants added in the Tales DLC. The differences to the normal rifle, apart from its look, is that it has an increased range, 33.3% over the standard. Many like this variant as there are no downsides, so it's basically an upgrade only. There are 5 possible spots that you can find it in Ash Canyon. Where you find it will of course depend on your individual save. Number 1. On the mining camp / gold mine entrance plateau, at the top of the large waterfall, there is a corpse whereby you may find the Curator's Rifle. Number 2. At Wolfjaw Overlook, which is also a Vista point by the way, there can be a corpse sitting up against a tree there, where you may also find the Curator's Rifle. Number 3. A bit up from Wolfjaw Overlook, after the rosehip climbs on the bend where there's a kind of viewpoint, sometimes you'll find a corpse here with the Curator's Rifle nearby. This is also a potential spot to find a Polaroid. Number 4. There is an elevated area to the west or left of Angler's Den if looking towards Broad Falls. To access it, you'll need to go up a rope climb across from Stone Shelf Cave and the Burnt Forest. Once up rope climbs, you'll come to a bridge to your right, which is Runaway Bridge, but head around to your left and you'll come to a fallen tree bridge. Cross this and follow around the corner to your right, and you'll find a little alcove with a leafy bed and potentially the Curator's Rifle. Number 5. At the High Meadow Plateau, at the Vista point, which is around to your right if you cross the bridge from the fire overlook side. You may also find the Curator's Rifle here, nearby a corpse. Ranger's Stew. The Frontier Comforts update for the Tales introduced unique recipes. The Ranger's Stew recipe can be found inside Foreman's Retreat cabin. The Trader's Radio. There is unfortunately no radio in Ash Canyon for the Trader, nor in Timberwolf Mountain. However, there is one in Pleasant Valley at the community center or in the prison in Black Rock. Exploration. Your first time in Ash Canyon may feel overwhelming with all the different levels of elevation and bridges connecting different parts, and you may wonder, how do I get everywhere I want to go? Knowing which areas connect to each other may help with exploring. So, Bitter Marsh connects up to the Angler's Den area, and this connects as well to the Long Falls area. From the Angler's Den area, you can also explore pathways to the left in between the high plateaus, which take you to the Pillar's Footrest side of Ash Canyon. You can access the Climber's Cave Plateau via a tree bridge from Pillar's Footrest, or of course coming down the rope from High Meadow. Here you can go up to this small higher plateau. Of course, there are many rope climbs, for example, from the Marsh to Homesteaders and Homesteaders to Fire Overlook, not to forget, of course, the 3 large rope climbs up to the gold mine. After the small cave system, you can either head down to Miner's Folly or take the bridge to the mountain path. You can walk through this crevasse. My personal route to explore Ash Canyon is heading first to the gold mine via the lovely mountain path route. Then I head back down past Miner's Folly, Foreman's Retreat, to the High Meadow and down to Homesteaders. So hopefully I've covered the information you need to get a bit more familiar with Ash Canyon and help you explore it and to find all the useful things you can find in Ash Canyon. So thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next one.